In this episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast, we haven't done this in a while, Matt. We're doing a therapy Q&A. Questions and answers about therapy.
You mean we're not talking about...
This may sound redundant.
I thought you meant quaaludes and assholes, but
well,
go on.
We could do that.
All
sure.
Right.
Why not? I mean, that could go with therapy. Who knows?
Sure.
I mean, but we've done Q&A before, but it's been a long time. So we're going to revisit this. And I think because a lot of people who are considering going to therapy, people kind of, in general, you know what therapy is. You go in and talk to someone, but there's a lot of things involved with it. So we're just going to get into some question and answers, and hopefully I can clear things up and make it more comfortable for you to seek a therapist.
Okay.
And as usual, we give away free stuff. Hang in there, folks. We'll be right back.
This sounds like something for the authorities in Detroit.
Well, joke's on you. I'm living to 102 and then dying, like the city of Detroit.
Guys like this antique over here out of Detroit.
Spawned in the hellfires of Motown.
Take him to Detroit.
No, not Detroit. No, please. Anything but that. No.
Stationed in Drambuie. It's worse than Detroit.
We did not have, as a unit, the confidence that we felt like we needed to beat Detroit.
Let's go to Detroit.
Now you're talking, brother.
I don't think so. He plays for Detroit now.
Do they have many farms in Detroit?
Detroit. It's in Michigan.
I go to school. I know where Detroit is.
Get ready for the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright, originating from the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. He has hypnotized thousands of people from all over the United States. David R. Wright has been featured on news outlets all across the country and is the clinical director of an outpatient mental health and hypnosis clinic located just south of Detroit, where he helps people daily using the power of hypnosis. Welcome, the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright.
What is going on, my friends? This is David R. Wright, the Motor City Hypnotist. As I clear my throat, we're back with another episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast.
Hey, how are you?
The other voice you hear is Matt Fox.
Yes, it is.
He is hanging out, producing my show, running everything, making the magic happen.
I sit back and listen.
Well, you do. You do more than that, man. Give yourself some credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a buck.
What in blazes are you talking about?
That's all you get.
Yeah, that's fine. That'll work. So we're here in the palatial Podcast Your Voice Southfield Studios.
Hey, David.
It is a Monday evening. We're doing a podcast.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Matt. Well, I haven't seen you since New Year. So
yeah.
We were here the week before, but
yeah. How's your year been so far?
It's been good.
All right.
Yeah, we're working, plugging along, working,
golfing.
Golfing indoors. Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. Taking my lesson every week just to get better.
Cheers.
I was telling Matt before the show when I'm going to brag a little bit, but I've gotten to the point where I can hit drives 270, 280.
Look at you.
And I've been hitting my 7-iron fairly consistently at 160, 165.
Okay.
So
we'll have to go out and play around.
Matt, we need to do that. That would be fun.
Yes, it would be.
We'll go knock some balls around.
I'll bring some cigars.
Golf balls.
I'll bring some cigars.
Absolutely. I have cigars also.
Yeah, I got some cedar wrapping.
Oh, no, we're going to take the cedar wrapping off after that story you told me. Yeah. You don't like that thing up with that cedar wrapping on it.
Oh, so funny.
So thanks for joining us, folks. First of all, let me tell you where you can find me. My website is motorcityhypnotist.com. Check that out. We're right in the midst of booking for senior grad nights and post-prom parties. In fact, my schedule already is pretty packed through April, May, June. But I just got a quote. I just gave out a quote yesterday. Somebody applied online. They had their quote within minutes. You can apply online, have your quote in minutes, and you can book your show all within like 5 minutes and not ever have to talk to anybody. You can do it right through the website. So check that out if you need a show, especially, again, high schools are booking quick right now. A lot of times, I hate to say this, but most of the times when these schools book shows, it's a different parent committee every year.
Right.
And they pass along information, but then that group of parents has to now arrange everything. So sometimes they get kind of behind.
Sure.
Because they haven't thought ahead. But anyway, if you need a show, go to my website, check it out. Also, there's a new area on the website, the Motor City Hypnotist site, ketamine assisted hypnosis. So we're doing therapy in our clinic, ketamine assisted therapy. We've teamed up with another company called Journey Clinical. They do the medical side and the prescription side, but we can use that in therapy sessions, but also in hypnosis sessions. The idea here, and you can go back. We just did a couple of episodes on ketamine maybe a month ago.
Yep.
So go back and check those out because there's not a lot of studies done yet, but the anecdotal evidence so far is that you're able to restructure and increase your neuroplasticity in your brain, which helps you to create new habits of thinking.
Okay.
Which in turn changes behaviors and the way you feel. So check that out. All the information's on the website. There's a whole PDF that you can download about ketamine and what it is about and what it is. And again, if you have any questions, just reach out to us on the website or through the phone number.
There you go.
And that phone number, I'll tell you right now, if you text the word hypnosis to our phone number, 313-800-8510, in a few minutes, you'll get a free hypnosis guide directly texted to your phone.
Sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. My social media, Facebook and YouTube, are both Motor City Hypnotist. My Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok are all Motor City Hypno.
Mm-hmm.
I've started TikTok, Matt. I got a couple small videos up.
Well, you can use
and
it
they're
for...
probably going to go out of, they're probably going to be banned in a month. So
right.
I got in just in time. Here's the challenge, because social media is here to stay in some form or another.
Sure.
And definitely we have a Facebook page. We've always had a Facebook page, but that's more your under 40 crowd are not using Facebook.
Yeah, that's a true story.
I mean, it is. I mean, they're mostly on Instagram or they're on TikTok and Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go where the people are to be able to kind of get our information out.
I want to be.
So again, follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok, which are all Motor City Hypno, HYPNO.
There it is.
All right. And wherever you're listening, here's the important part. Whether you're listening to it on a platform like Spotify or iTunes or Stitcher or wherever, connect, like, subscribe, whatever it is on your platform so you get the show when it drops. But the other big thing is leave a review. That helps us out. It helps more people find the show. And again, the whole thing, we're doing this to try to reach people and to help them. So the more people we can reach, the better it is for us and the better it is for the people who are listening.
There you go.
So yeah, definitely leave a review. That would be greatly appreciated. All right. It is time, Matt.
First one of the year.
That's how winning is done.
All right.
Okay.
So one of our favorite type of stories in our winners of the week involve animals because we love animals. So this story is about a retired police dog who needed to snap back into service to save someone.
Oh, okay.
In a story which reminds us that heroes never really hang up their capes, a retired police dog in the UK saved a missing person while on a walk.
Wait. Saved a missing person?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The 12-year-old German Shepherd named Bear received the Lifesaver Award from the Thin Blue Paw Foundation, a charity that helps police dogs and which had previously partially paid for one of Bear's surgeries. It happened that on November 28th, during a walk aimed at rehabilitating Bear's stamina following his surgery to remove some tumors, Bear's sense of heroism was rehabilitated as well. His owners, both retired officers themselves, had taken him to the South Downs, the beautiful green hills of southern England, to celebrate the pooch's 12th birthday. Julia Pope, Bear's owner, adopted him after a long career as his long career as a general police dog ended in 2020. Bear found several people during his working life who probably wouldn't have survived without him, but he and his handler never got any recognition at the time because they were simply just doing their job. During their walk, Bear led Julia and her husband Ian into deep brush where a man had fallen down. Wet, immobile, and confused, authorities were already looking for him when Bear found him.
Wow.
Either the Thin Blue Paw Foundation or Sussex Police Department got word that one of their former canines had performed an additional rescue post-service career, and Bear was recommended for the Lifesaver Award, which was presented during a ceremony at Sussex HQ, something which Julia said was completely unexpected. for him to get this award now in his retirement and for his former handler to have been there too is very special. We are all super proud of him.
Very cool.
Do you want to see a picture of Bear?
I would love to see a picture.
Here's Bear.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
He looks a little short. His legs.
Yeah. He's probably leaning down, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, he is 12 years old too. So I don't
Okay.
know if that affects his mobility or his stance or whatever, but
he looks adorable.
yeah,
Smart.
isn't he great?
He actually looks very intelligent.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's great because, I mean, think about it. He retired in 2020, so it's been almost 4 years, but his instincts are, he's still trained. His instincts are still there. He was still
Okay.
able to find someone.
Right.
Which is great because he's just doing what he's been taught to do.
Right.
Even if he's retired. So yeah, great story.
Yeah.
For
thank you
Bear
that.
and for the owners and for the guy he rescued for sure. Definitely winner of the week.
Thanks, Bear.
That's how winning is done.
I do enjoy good dogs.
Yeah, I always
Good-
love animal stories, especially dogs.
Yeah.
I'm a big dog person, so I enjoy stories about dogs. Yeah, especially good ones.
So, back to it.
Sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're here, folks. Therapy Q&A. Now we've done these before, but a lot of times I like to revisit this because here's the thing: we get clients calling in every day to the office. Every single day, we have numerous calls about people coming to therapy. And in being a therapist, sometimes I take that for granted because that call has got to be very difficult for a lot of people.
Right.
Because one, it's kind of saying, I've tried everything. I'm at the end here. I need some help.
End of my rope.
Yes. And typically when people call our office, it is kind of a crisis at that point. Because most people don't call a therapist when things are fine, when they're happy, when they're well adjusted, when life is going well. But when things go wrong and you have to deal with issues, it's just this innate human resistance to ask for help. Now, that being said, a lot of people call and try to find a therapist, but I feel like you need to do your homework first.
Right.
I just feel like that behooves you to kind of do your due diligence and know exactly what you want and need when you go.
Let me go back real quick.
Yeah.
So you just said something where a lot of folks, they really won't use a therapist when things are good. Right. So if you have someone there when things are good and, you know, they're sharing with their spouse, significant other, their friend, you know, close friend, they're like, you know what, I'm going to go start seeing a therapist. And immediately the immediate thought is, oh my God, what's wrong?
Right.
Like nothing's wrong. I just want to make sure that I'm speaking my mind. I'm able to.
Well, here's my approach. Seeing a therapist, it's not necessarily, I mean, it could be to resolve a problem or problems.
Okay.
It could be that, but it also could be just, you want to improve yourself. There's not necessarily anything exactly wrong, but you just want to be a better person or better at certain things, like better socially or better in relationships.
There you go.
Or better at your job.
Okay.
So all of these things are you don't need an excuse or a reason to go to therapy. You just need to say, I want to go. I want to do this to improve myself.
But the folks around you, the automatic,
well,
the,
sure.
the stigma.
Well,
is,
and that's the thing. We've been, believe me, from the beginning of time, we've been fighting this mental health stigma. And you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast, how many times we've gone over statistics and studies and things that have shown that a majority of the population suffers from some sort of mental illness, whether it be anxiety, depression, PTSD. It's just ADHD, autism. I mean, there's so many people are affected. And here's I don't say this in a mean way, but most people are screwed up.
Well, I'll quote you. Everyone's got shit.
Yes. No, everyone's effed up.
Oh,
Everyone has something they can work
on.
All
right, sorry, I misquoted you.
No, that's okay. But the idea was there. You totally understand what I'm saying, though. Everybody can do something to improve themselves. That's a fact. So we're going to talk about some questions that you might have. And by the end of this, I want you to be comfortable seeking out a therapist and feel good about it.
All right.
So this is a question that I pulled a lot of these questions from online forums, especially Reddit. I just do a lot in Reddit with mental health stuff.
POV.
So first question that we're going to cover here is why should I speak to a therapist instead of a friend?
I'm not a therapist or a doctor, but I can answer that question.
You probably can,
but go on.
I mean, in general, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Your friends are your closest people.
Sure.
They're the people you chose. Now, because and I've said this before, you don't choose family. You're stuck with what you get.
Right.
Your friends, you choose.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that they would be the ideal people to talk to about issues or problems or things that are happening.
They can be biased though.
That's part of the problem. As a friend, they might not be totally honest with you.
Sure.
Just because they don't want the friendship to be affected. And here's the thing. I've seen this in relationships in my own life and also in others, is that when you start talking about problems and issues, that sometimes that can affect the friendship, because the friend might say, this is a little bit much. And they might pull back, but again, the thought is, if it's a friend, they're going to be really helpful. I get it. I get that thought, but it's not necessarily true.
They may listen, but they don't really have a proper solution.
So let me give you some reasons why a therapist would be better.
Go for it.
Because that way you're getting what you need.
Yeah.
One, as a therapist, has professional training, whereas your friend does not. I mean, that's number one, unless they're a therapist.
Right.
Now, if you have a friend who's a therapist,
no.
You can't mix that.
No,
you're right. But I'm just saying, a therapist has professional training. A therapist is objective. We went right back. A friend can be biased.
Correct.
A therapist is objective because they don't know you when they meet you. They've never met you. They're just getting to know you. And they're confidential.
Yes.
A friend could be confidential, but they might not.
They might have a loose tongue. They might let something slip at a party.
I mean, I've seen it happen. I've seen it numerous times.
Yeah. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
You share confidential information with a friend, and pretty soon everybody knows.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing. A therapist has training. They're objective and confidential. A therapist has firm professional boundaries. They will not tell you what you want to hear. They will tell you what you need to hear. They won't be soft because they're your friend.
Right.
If that makes sense.
They won't sugarcoat it.
Yes, exactly. A therapist can prioritize you and your feelings because that's their job. It's their job to do this and help you with the issues you're having. And in this one, I find a little bit funny, but it's not. You don't have to feel guilty about taking someone's time up when you're going to a therapist, because your insurance is paying or you're paying. You're paying for a service.
Right.
And with a friend, sometimes, especially if you're constantly dumping on friends, sometimes I might feel like, ooh, I'm doing too much. I'm putting too much on them. So that's why you should see a therapist rather than just talking to your friends or your spouse or your family.
Do you remember the television show Dear John by chance?
I know that name. Was that the guy who was a killer?
No.
And okay, so no, I'm thinking of a different show.
Different show. Right. It was a TV series, television show, and the therapist, very first episode, John sits down and she asks him, "Do you have any sexual problems?"
Oh no.
And that was like the running thing. The first question she would ask a new member of the circle that would come in.
Yeah. A good therapist will not do that, by the way, people. Just so you know. That is not the first question out of the gate.
No.
I
think it was Bernadette Peters. I think that was the actress.
Oh, that's going way back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think that's who that was. I'll have to look it up and clarify.
Okay. Next question. How do I know when to see a therapist? Now, that's a very vague and general question, but it's a question sometimes people think about. So here's what I would say.
When the world is burning.
If you're considering
too soon.
No, it's not too soon, because in a weird way, the world's always burning.
Right.
Something's always happening. There's all some kind of crisis or something. In fact, let me back up a little bit, because again, Matt's referring to the wildfires that are happening in California right now, which is tragic. But even other It doesn't have to be a natural disaster. For an individual, it could be something happening in your own home, or something at your own workplace, or something with friends. So it doesn't have to be a major catastrophe like these fires, although that definitely plays into a lot of people's psyche and their mental health.
It's absolutely devastating.
Yes, it is devastating. And that's so when you ask that question, how do I know when to see a therapist? The simple answer is, we all go through ups and downs in life. So if you're considering seeing one, just go and do it, because you can work out what you need to address once you're there. You don't have to have this, oh, I have a major issue I need to address right now. And Matt, we said it, I think in the intro or right after, you don't have to be in crisis to see a therapist.
No, you don't.
In fact, you brought it up. It might be better to see a therapist when you're feeling good, because it just kind of stay on track and avoid any issues down the road.
The important thing about that, I believe, is that if you go out and find yourself someone that you're comfortable with, you've done your due diligence, and you have someone that you know is going to be honest with you and tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear.
Right.
You have that in place, and then you are consistent with that individual, with that therapist.
Yep.
If things do go wrong, then you don't have to create a whole relationship and go through all of that.
Right.
And you're not having to create work for yourself to try to get better. You already have that in place.
And I know this analogy doesn't quite fit, but a lot of times, even with businesses, you always have an attorney on retainer just in case.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of look at a therapist like that. If you're already seeing a therapist, even if it's monthly, you as Matt said, you already have that relationship established. So if something comes up that's a crisis, or something that you feel something's wrong, you've already got that relationship established, and you can address it immediately.
Right.
It's not, you don't have to wait 3 sessions to get to know someone and feel like you can trust them.
It's like rotating your tires.
Yeah.
You don't wait until you're riding on the rims to get them changed. You
Right.
have to continually cycle those bad boys.
Yeah. So it's preemptive in a way.
Yeah.
You can do preemptive therapy.
Yeah.
So other than that, when to go to therapy, I'll give you a couple things. If you feel like you're becoming overwhelmed by life, whether it be job, whether it be family, whether it be relationships, whether it be responsibilities, that's a big sign. If you're having trouble functioning in your daily life, like you can't get up, or you can't, it's things that you only know when something's going on. Like I know for myself, I know when I'm not right. I can feel like I feel really overwhelmed, or I feel really stressed out, or I feel really anxious. So you kind of know when these things come up, and it's not the typical, if that makes sense. So signs it's time for you to see a therapist, and I'm just going to list a few out for you. You don't feel like yourself for whatever reason.
Okay.
Something's different. You don't feel the same. Your relationships are suffering. Whether that's a marriage, whether it's a child, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friend, but you see relationships starting to be affected by whatever you're going through. That's a problem. You feel like your emotions are out of control.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to emotions, everyone likes to say they wear their heart on their sleeve. And at what point do they let that get out of control?
Well, that's a good point, because a lot of people, the opposite of that would just be to be closed up totally.
Right.
So there are two extremes, and you're definitely right about that.
Right.
It's
So
got to be in the middle somewhere.
Too much emotion, not enough emotion.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
If there's not enough emotion and the world is burning around you, right? That's when you need to make a change.
Yes, absolutely. Another sign that you probably should see a therapist is you're altering aspects of your life to accommodate your feelings. I'll give you a good example. Somebody who has social anxiety will never go out.
Sure.
They'll change their behavior to accommodate that fear and that anxiety.
Okay.
That's a problem, because it prevents you from doing things you might have enjoyed before, like going to a concert or a sporting event, or out to dinner.
Right.
Just simple things. And if you're spending way too much time thinking about your emotions and challenges that you have, if you're just constantly ruminating and staying stuck in that thought cycle and worrying, definitely that's probably a time to go see a therapist.
Got it.
Yeah. So, folks, we're going to come back. This is part one. We're going to finish up part two. I still have a lot of questions to answer, and we're going to do that in the next episode. I know we kind of split these up because, half hour. Typically, by the time we start the show and get going, we're pretty much talking 15, 20 minutes to get all this information in, which is fine. But that's why we split them up sometimes.
I love it.
Because we want you to get all the information. So that's why there are a lot of parts 1 and 2. Because I feel like 15 minutes, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
And I want to give you something that you can use and put into place and help yourself.
Thank you.
All right. So we will be back for part 2 of Therapy Q&A. Before we take off, if you're on Facebook Live, stick around. We're doing another episode. If you're on whatever platform you're on, skip ahead to the next episode, or we'll be there on Tuesday or Thursday. Before we go, somebody needs a home.
Who's that?
Lily.
Lily
is a mixed breed female. She'll be about 60 pounds. She's dog friendly. Cat friendly is unknown. She's kid friendly. Activity level is medium high.
Okay.
She was born in October 2024.
Fun.
So she's only about 4 months old.
Uh-huh.
There's Lily.
Oh, look at that face.
I know. Look at that.
Aw. All of a sudden, I want to have I need a dog.
I know. Look at that, though. That is such a beautiful face.
Look at her. She's adorable.
I know. That little paw.
It's like a beagle.
Yeah, it does look kind of a beagle-ish.
Definitely. She's got a little.
A little closer, Matt. There you go.
She's got lab, and she definitely has some lab with the ears and the nose, but definitely quite a little bit of maybe a little Dalmatian too.
Maybe because of the coloring. Yeah. So anyway, Lily needs a home.
Yeah.
DetroitDogRescue.com/adopt.
Love it.
Check it out. She's waiting. Somebody go get her tonight, please. Look at that.
Adorable.
She'll sleep right next to you, I bet. All righty, folks. That is our show for today. Change your thinking, change your life, laugh hard, run fast, be kind. We'll see you next time. In this episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast, we are talking about Therapy Q&A, and this is part 2 of the series. If you haven't listened to part 1, you can jump back an episode or listen now and jump back after. Either way, you got it all covered. And as usual, we're giving away free stuff. Hang in there, folks. We'll be right back.
This sounds like something for the authorities in Detroit.
Well, joke's on you. I'm living to 102 and then dying, like the city of Detroit.
Guys like this antique over here out of Detroit.
Spawned in the hellfires of Motown.
Take him to Detroit.
No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything but that! No!
Stationed in Drambuie. It's worse than Detroit.
We did not have, as a unit, the confidence that we felt like we needed to beat Detroit.
Let's go to Detroit.
Now you're talking, brother.
I don't think so. He plays for Detroit now.
Do they have many farms in Detroit?
Detroit. It's in Michigan.
I go to school. I know where Detroit is.
Get ready for the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright, originating from the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. He has hypnotized thousands of people from all over the United States. David R. Wright has been featured on news outlets all across the country and is the clinical director of an outpatient mental health and hypnosis clinic located just south of Detroit, where he helps people daily using the power of hypnosis. Welcome, the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright.
What is going on, my friends? This is David Wright, the Motor City Hypnotist, and we are back with another episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast.
Bet your bottom dollar.
You bet your bottom dollar. That is Matt Fox, the other voice you hear.
Hello.
Hanging out here on a Monday evening doing a podcast.
Yep.
And here at the palatial Southfield Podcast Your Voice Studios.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hanging out, doing a podcast.
You gonna make it? Are you gonna live?
Sorry, I had a cold like a couple of weeks ago, and this
got a frog
throat thing. I got a throg in my throat, as my son used to say.
A frog.
He's called, that's what he called it as a kid. So
throat frog.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, we're here doing a podcast, hanging out, having fun.
Yep.
Let me tell you where you can find me, folks. My website is motorcityhypnotist.com. A couple of updates on the website in the last couple of weeks. There's a whole section on ketamine-assisted hypnosis. Same thing with therapy that we do in our clinic. And you can also book sessions through the Motor City Hypnotist site or the Counseling and Therapy Associate site. So one is for hypnosis, the other one's for therapy, but you can find us both through both sites. So,
Perfect.
So check that out if you have any questions. Also, if you're looking for a show, the motorcityhypnotist.com/shows is the best way to book. You can go online, get a quote within minutes, book and sign and pay your deposit all within minutes. So if you're looking for something, and just as a heads up, the high school season is booking up really quickly. April, May, June are post-prom and post-grad night parties. And most of the time they will have Hypnotist as their entertainment to finish off their evenings. But again, we're booking up quick. So if you have a date that you need, go to my website now.
There you go.
Book it so it's done. My social media, Facebook and YouTube, are both Motor City Hypnotist. And my social media, Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok are all Motor City Hypno, HYPNO.
All right.
And let me guide you to the TikTok. So that's fairly new. We just got into that space, of course, just in time for it to be banned, but that's okay. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
But I did post a video up, and we tried this a few years ago, but it was right around COVID time, and it just didn't. The timing wasn't great. But I'm planning on doing a hypnosis training in August of this year.
Fun.
Second weekend in August, it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yes.
No, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 5-day training, 40 hours. You can get your certification in hypnosis. So here's the thing. Go to motorcityhypnotist.com, click on the Academy tab, and that will take you to all the information on how to register, what the cost is. Again, it's an intensive 5-day training with real volunteers. Now, Matt, we talked about this before. You were going to volunteer for this at some point.
Yeah.
So just keep August in your mind, not that I'll hold you to it, but you get some free hypnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we will be looking for volunteers, but I also want to book up this class because it's only 10 people. It's 10 people max because it's just easier to make sure everybody gets the attention they need.
Cool.
So check that out. That's on the website as well. And for your free hypnosis guide, which we give away every show, text the word hypnosis to 313-800-8510. And within minutes, you'll get your free hypnosis PDF, text right to your phone. And it'll also ask you to leave a review. Now, typically this is to leave a review for a show, but since you're listening to the podcast, that's also a show. So you can just leave the review or leave the review on the podcast. It all goes to my Google page, Motor City Hypnotist. However you do it, it's perfect. So check that out as well. All righty.
Oh,
it is time, Matt.
Are we doing it?
That's how winning is done.
All righty. On December 18th, Fernandini Beach Fire Department rushed to the scene of a bicycle collision where a young man was trapped under his bike wheel.
Wow.
Before the firefighters could free the boy named KJ, they had to cut his foot loose from where it was trapped among the spokes of the wheel of the bike.
You had to cut it loose?
Ultimately ruining the bike.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to cut all the spokes to get his foot out. KJ was then brought to the hospital to be treated for injuries, including a very nasty ankle sprain. But seeing how it was the holidays, the firemen felt they had to do something to cheer the lad up.
Huh.
They came to the hospital and surprised him with a brand new bike and helmet.
Okay.
The following day, they shared a photograph on the Fernandini Fire Department Facebook page of them surprising KJ, who appears to be asleep, with his new gift. His mother, Joanna, smiling on his behalf in the photo, said that the injury left no serious damage but that KJ was still in shock.
Hmm.
This reminds us of what holidays are truly about. Merry Christmas and happy holidays from our fire family to yours. Stay safe, Fernandina, the fire department said in the post.
Nice.
So yeah, for the Fernandina Beach Fire Department and for KJ, this kid who just had an accident on his bike and got ruined. I brought him a brand new bike. Here's a photo if you want to see the photo of KJ in his bed and the bike that they brought him. A couple firefighters and his mom.
He still has his foot. Good.
Yes, just a nasty sprain.
Yep.
So he'll recover fully. He'll be back on the bike in no time.
Perfect.
His brand new bike with his brand new helmet.
Thank you for that.
So shout out to KJ and the Fernandina Beach Fire Department. Definitely winner of the week.
Perfect.
That's how winning is done.
Yes, it is.
So, back to it.
So we were here, Matt.
We're here. Last episode, I had talked about the TV show Dear John.
Yes.
So the therapist in that show,
yes,
was not Bernadette Peters.
Okay.
It was Jane Carr.
Ooh.
That was the actress's name, Jane Carr.
What was the year of this show?
1988.
Oh, really old.
Yeah, 1988 to 1992.
So there was a show, and I'm confusing it with a show that was out recently within the last couple of years. I don't know if it was Dear John or
there is
John was in the title.
There is a movie called Dear John.
And Eric Bana played this guy who would seduce women and then kill them.
Oh my goodness.
It's a crazy show.
Yeah, the one I'm talking
that's the
about,
one I was thinking about.
The one I'm talking about had Judd Hirsch as the
Judd Hirsch.
Yes.
Do you know the other movie that Judd Hirsch played a therapist in?
I want to say Independence Day, but it's not.
Nope.
Right.
Older, way back, 80s probably.
Taxi.
Kind of.
What is
he
it?
was kind of in there. Ordinary People.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was Timothy Hutton's therapist in Ordinary People.
Yeah.
And that is one of those movies we went back, go way back into our archives. It was probably in the first 50 episodes or so. We did movies that accurately portray therapy.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of them. I think that was close to number one.
Okay.
So yeah, Judd Hirsch did play a therapist in Ordinary People as well.
Nice.
All righty. So we're talking about, speaking of therapy.
Yes.
We're here today with part 2 of Q&A, therapy Q&A. So we're answering questions. Last episode, again, if you didn't listen, jump back and listen. We covered why would I speak to a therapist instead of a friend, and how do I know when to seek a therapist?
Right.
So today we're starting off on how do I find a therapist? What's the process? What is the process for going and actually going online or calling or, I don't know, searching for a therapist?
Well, the first thing that you may want to do is talk to your insurance provider to find out what is actually covered for therapy.
That is exactly right. So let me kind of just give you a really quick breakdown. So we accept most major insurance companies: Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Blue Care Network,
HAP.
HAP we do not take.
See,
because with HAP, here's the problem with HAP, and I'll throw it out there. I hope they're listening, but they don't credential individuals. They only credential groups, and they don't credential your group unless you're accredited.
Wow.
And the accreditation process is really for bigger clinics and companies, because the cost of that, just for an audit to get an accreditation, is like $5,000.
Like your Corwells or your
your
St.
major
John's.
your major health companies are accredited, I'm sure. But for a small clinic like us, we have 10 therapists and a psychiatrist and 2 office staff. That it's just not worth the money and the work it would take, because to be accredited, you have to meet so many requirements, and you have to have a book that's like this thick. When I'm holding my hands up, if you guys are not
6
watching
inches.
on video,
Is that 6 inches?
yeah, about that. It's close.
Are you sure?
No, it's not quite. It's really 2, but
All right,
whatever.
all right.
But a huge book full of policies and procedures and structure and
policy.
It's just too much. It's too much for us to handle. So we do not take HAP, but again, we take Medicaid insurances, Molina, Aetna Better Health, Blue Cross Complete. So we take a lot of insurances, but there are insurances we don't take. So you're right, Matt. The biggest thing is if you have insurance is to go to your site and see who's covered first. That's first step number one. So the other thing you want to consider once you found a place that you know that your insurance will cover, or if you don't have insurance, again, the challenge here is going to be cost if you're paying cash.
Sure.
We'll get into that in a little bit. But the first thing is you want to consider, again, one of the things that one of the questions asked is what education does a therapist have? And I'll kind of cover that in this, because when you're looking for a therapist, you want to make sure that one, they're licensed, and they wouldn't be online if they weren't licensed.
Sure.
It's kind of redundant, but that's an important thing. The cost of their services and what they deal with. So a general therapist does psychotherapy with a client, but they might have areas that they've not had a lot of experience in. So it's important to ask that. So like if somebody came to me and said, yes, I have, I'm trying to think of a good example of something that I don't deal with a whole lot.
The psychosis,
menopausal issues. Okay. I don't know. I'm just trying to bring a random thing up.
Psychosis of matches. I don't know.
But make sure your therapist is experienced in the thing that you're coming to them for, because there's a lot of therapists out there, and most of them are general therapists. They deal with anxiety, depression, most of your major mental health issues. But if it's something very specific, make sure that therapist has experience with that before you see them. The other questions that you need to ask yourself: do you want a therapist with the same cultural guidelines or same cultural beliefs as you? That could make a difference, because I mean, a lot of clients come in and they want Christian counseling per se.
Okay.
And a lot of our therapists are not they don't identify as Christian, or they're not religious. So again, these are questions to ask if you need somebody that you feel like you could connect with better. And that's the big thing with a therapist. You have to be able to connect with them. And I've said this hundreds of times over the years, if not thousands. You have to have a good relationship with your therapist. You have to click with them, because if you don't, it's not going to help you, because you're going to be spending the whole time doubting what they're saying or not trusting them.
Sure.
And if you don't have that, it's not going to work for you. So make sure that you have somebody that you can connect with. Now, here's the challenge. You may come to therapy after 3 or 4 sessions. You might feel like, I'm really not digging it with this cat. It's just not working for me. It's important. It's incumbent on you as the client to say, I need to see somebody different. That's hard to do because you feel like you're stuck, or that you're assigned to this person, but you have a choice.
And I would hope that the therapist is professional enough to say, but okay, let's find you somebody, instead of going, why?
No,
what?
you're Matt. I was just going to get into that.
What's wrong?
Every client I see for the first time, I say to them, hey, at some point in this relationship, if you feel like it's not working, you have to let me know. I don't take it personally. I know I'm not going to click with everyone. I know I'm not a therapist for everyone.
Sure.
So if it's not working for you, you need to let me know so that I can get you to somebody you can connect with.
Right.
I say it every session, the first session, every time. Now, some therapists may not do that. And you're right, Matt. Some may be like, oh, you don't want to see me? What did I do wrong? But that comes with experience too.
Right.
So, the best way, other than looking at your insurance company to see who's approved, is go to Psychology Today. They have most therapists are on Psychology Today, and they have an ad or information about that clinic or that therapist.
Okay.
Start there, because it gives you a lot of information as far as what they do, what the clinic's like. In our Psychology Today, it lists all of the stuff that we handle, all of the areas that our therapists cover, hours of operation that were telehealth and in person. So it gives you a lot of information. So Psychology Today can be a great source to start finding a therapist.
Is that a .com or a .org?
Nope, it's psychologytoday.com.
Okay.
Yep. And the other thing you can do is ask for a referral from your doctor or from friends or family that may be seeing a therapist or going to a facility.
Sure.
because a lot of our people that come in are referred by friends and family that have come and seen us.
Who were you seeing when you were on the 6th floor over at
What are you doing over there? I saw you walk in with your hood up and a mask on. It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah, I know. Okay, next question. This is a crazy one. How much does therapy cost?
Well, let's see. Let's find out. A 1, a 2, a 3.
So this is a very generic question.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to be right up front and honest with you. If you have insurance coverage, that's great because your insurance will cover a majority of it. Here's the problem. Most insurances, people have deductibles.
You have to meet.
So if you have $1,000 deductible, you got to pay that before the insurance kicks in and pays for the visits.
Whether it be family.
And Matt, I'm telling you, I every day, every single day, especially since the first of the year has come along, deductibles have reset.
Yep.
Every single day we have somebody saying, I can't afford that. And I'm like, well, but this is your coverage. This is your insurance coverage. We have to charge it. We can't waive a deductible because we've contracted with the insurance company that we're collecting this amount so it can be applied to your deductible.
Right.
So this we go round and around with this. But as far as cost for therapy, most insurances now have a deductible of some sort.
Yeah.
Once you reach that deductible, typically like with Blue Cross or Blue Care Network,
90%.
You might have a 10% copay or a $20 copay or something like that.
That's the copay to actually, to go in for the visit. But
right.
Then whatever the cost was, the insurance provider will cover that first 90%. Then you have to cover the other.
Correct.
10%,
And the balance of what and the insurance will pay the rest. So for us, our cash rate at our clinic is $175 per session.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. If you don't have insurance, that's kind of what you're looking at. Now, I know a lot of people would be like, I can't afford to do that every week. So we always say to clients, listen, if you have to pay cash, if you don't have insurance, we want to be able to help you. So let's do sessions every other week or every 3 weeks to kind of make it more manageable. But the important thing is that you're seeing someone. So we can work around that. Now, there were years ago, and a lot of places will do what we call a sliding scale. And that means they reduce the cost based on income. We don't do that anymore. And I'll tell you why, because it's so hard to kind of monitor. Like we don't ask for W-2s or pay stubs or anything. We're just going by what a client tells us.
Right.
And if they're saying, I just can't afford this, part of me says, okay, I understand that. But part of me feels like most clients do better when they have some skin in the game. If you understand what I'm saying.
I do.
If you have a financial commitment, you tend to take therapy more seriously because you have an investment in it.
Sure.
Financial and emotional and psychological. So just be ready. Now, there are some services out there that would have reduced fee services, something like Community Cares or something like the Guidance Center in Southgate. They do a lot of community mental health. So they have subsidies from the government.
Well, I'll even throw in Easter Seals on that.
Easter Seals is another great one. Yes.
So, because when someone says, someone comes in and they say, I can't afford that. I don't have insurance. Well, you have to understand the resources that are out there that to help you get to the point where it's not just a fact of affording. You could get Medicare, you could get Medicaid. There are resources that are out there.
Absolutely.
And you're choosing not to, and you're just saying I can't afford it because they don't want any skin in the game.
Well, and here's the thing. If it's important enough, you'll afford it.
Right.
And I know that sounds blunt and harsh and non-feeling, but that's the truth. If it's important, you're going to pay for it.
Right.
So if your mental health is important to you, then I know for some people, $300 a month sounds like a lot. $340 sounds like a lot.
It is.
But you have to think about long term. Am I going to be better doing this? That is the big question. There's an article, and I'll put a link in the show notes.
Okay.
Is therapy worth the cost? There's an article, and I'll put the link in there, and you can take a look at it. I don't want to go through all that, but
bottom line, you get out of it what you put into it.
Absolutely.
That's my bottom line.
Yep. So the next question is, again, does my insurance cover therapy? We kind of covered that in this question. So here's the thing with insurance companies, and this happened way back in 2008. Weirdly,
that's when the entire
the housing
crisis, the big bubble went boom.
But you remember the TARP bill they passed? It was like what was it, like 30 billion TARP bill?
It was huge.
Part of that TARP bill was the mental health equity clause. That was part of the one of the earmarks in that bill that passed, and it states that if an insurance company offers medical coverage and mental health coverage, they have to match. So you can't say to somebody, your medical coverage is covered at 100%, but mental health is only 50%. No, it has to be the same.
It has to equal.
It has to be exactly the same coverage for both physical and mental health.
Sure.
So that's a good thing, because insurance companies can't pimp on mental health now. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, they can try.
You said
pimp. I did. I said pimp.
Oh, great Odin's raven.
I just want to say that's the first time in the history of this podcast that
the word pimp has been said.
Yes.
Like this in the background. What the fuck is it with you?
What's the next question?
Next question. Can I do therapy online?
Sure.
Absolutely, you can.
WebMD, go for it.
Studies have been done, I'm telling you, and again, people may scoff at this. Now, let me tell you, as coming from a therapist, I prefer to have people in front of me in person. I just think it makes a better connection.
Oh, yeah.
But a majority of my people I see now are telehealth because it's more convenient for them. They can do it when they take a lunch break at work. They can do it from home. They can do it from their dorm room at college.
Sure.
So that's the great thing about online therapy. And studies have shown that online therapy is just as effective as in-person therapy.
Let me share with you when the therapist that I was speaking with, I never saw the individual in person.
Okay.
Nor did I see them on telehealth. It was all via phone.
Okay. So now that happens sometimes too.
Yeah. And we ended up having a good conversation over the phone. And yes, they helped me out tremendously. But I never sat down with the therapist in person or on telehealth. It was all phone call.
Right.
Because that's all we really needed.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of feel like the medium is almost not as important as the fact that you're doing it. That is the big thing to take from that. And it is effective and it's convenient. And I will say, for us therapists and for mental health clinics, having the ability, because I mean, before COVID, there was no telehealth.
No,
we couldn't do it.
No,
we wouldn't get paid for it.
Right. Because
now it's opened up a whole, I mean, again, we have 6 offices in our building, 8 hours a day. Now we don't need to, we're not limited by the office space.
A lot of things came out of COVID, some great and some very not so great. And the mediums that have opened up that are great actually are still somewhat detrimental because it's still keeping a person in a home. And they're like, I don't need to leave my house for this.
Right. Yeah.
But they need to get out if they have social anxiety.
It's good you brought that up, Matt, because I do have clients that are resistant to going out, are resistant to being in public. And I would say to them, listen, we're going to do 3 sessions telehealth, but then you have to do 1 session in person with me.
Sure.
It's just part of getting that change going. So again, if you see a good therapist, something like that may happen, which is totally fine. Another question that I get a lot, what type of therapist should I see?
Well,
so people say therapist. That's a very general term. So therapists are made up of psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, counselors. And when people look at this, they're like, I'm so confused. Who do I go to? Who do I call? Which one of these areas do I get therapy from?
Well, all of them, however.
Well, I mean, and most of those categories provide therapy, but sometimes you need a very specific therapist with what you're dealing with.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I'm going to go through a little flow chart with you. Yes, no questions.
Okay.
The first question is, you want to come to therapy. First question is, do you feel like you need medication?
Oh, good question.
If the answer is no, then a social worker, a licensed professional counselor, psychologist will work for your needs.
Okay.
If you want medication, or if you think you need medication, then you need to go to a place that has a doctor or psychiatrist in particular on staff.
Okay.
So let's go back to if you're not seeking medication or you don't think you need it, then you see
a counselor,
a social worker, a psychologist, or a licensed professional counselor. So here's the thing. All of those, when I say psychologist, I'm talking limited licensed psychologists. They're called an LLP. Those are master's level clinicians.
Okay.
Licensed master social workers are master's level clinicians. Licensed professional counselors are master's level clinicians. They're all the same level as far as education goes.
Sure.
The training and the schooling is a little bit different. Psychologists lean more into testing and research. Social workers lean more into like family
resources,
community resources, and counselors are more like geared towards therapy.
Got it.
Okay. Psychiatrists nowadays, they used to, but they don't nowadays. Psychiatrists really don't do therapy. And there are some probably that do, but most don't. Most psychiatrists are there to prescribe and manage medication.
Got it.
That's kind of their area. They're not going to do hour-long therapy sessions with you weekly. It's just the way it works.
Then how do they know what to prescribe?
Well, typically what happens in our office, because we have therapists and then we have our psychiatrists on staff, you come and you see a therapist and I talk to Johnny. Johnny says, I'm feeling really depressed. I'm having suicidal ideations. I've been struggling with this for months. Then I said, well, you know what? It might be good for you to see our psychiatrist. Let him do an evaluation and see if medication would be helpful.
Okay.
If the client's good with that, then we schedule an intake with the doctor, with Dr. Singh, who's our psychiatrist. He will do an intake, prescribe medication as needed, and they will continue to do therapy along with the medication.
Got it.
And our policy in our clinic is that if you see Dr. Singh for medication, you have to see a therapist regularly, even if it's monthly, just to check in to make sure things are good.
Good. Got it.
Because we don't want to just say, here's your medication.
Right.
Goodbye.
Checks and balances.
See you later.
Yeah.
So really the difference you need to know is that most therapists are master's level psychologists, social workers, or counselors.
Got it.
All right. How should I prepare for my first session? Again, it's a very general question, but it's a valid one because people think, what do I do? How do I go into this?
You want to go in with an open mind. And I'm speaking.
Number one, Matt, keep an open mind.
Okay.
Yep.
So you want to go in with an open mind. And thank you for the reaffirmation.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
confirmation.
Yeah.
And here's why. When and I'll speak from personal experience.
Sure.
I went in, I knew that there were things going on in my world around in my life that they were out of control. But however, I really was wanting to understand it. Number one, and how could I do something differently? Number two, that's the open mind. It's like you can't have blinders on.
Well,
when you go into it, you have to be able to look at the world around you and accept that you may hear something you may not like, but then you have to process that.
Yes, absolutely. So number one, as Matt said, keep an open mind. That's the biggest thing, because here's the thing. You have to be ready to change and be willing to change. That's why you're coming to therapy. That's the whole point of it. I would say before your first session, write down specific topics that you want to address or issues that you feel like you need to address. Whether that's like, oh man, I get really anxious in this situation, or I don't have a great relationship with my dad, or, I have these thoughts of hurting myself, whatever it is. Whatever the things are that I write them down so that you can cover them with your therapist in that first session. And that way we can build a plan around those things. And the other thing is be prepared to be honest. If you're not honest in therapy, it's not going to work.
Right.
And here's the thing. And I want to assure people, because I've heard things over the last 33 years, but the point being is that by law, it's confidential.
Right.
If somebody came to me and said, I committed a murder 5 years ago, I can't share that. It's confidential information. It happened in a session.
Wow.
It's by law, I can't share that information.
So let me ask, because there's always a gray area, Dave. At what point can you?
I'll give you, because this is the conversation I have with clients. There are only two reasons I would break confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in danger of hurting yourself
or someone else,
or in danger of hurting someone else.
Got it.
That's it. Currently, like today.
Today, not 5 years ago.
Not 5 years ago.
Wow.
Not 10 years ago. Not 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yep.
What if you were subpoenaed because of something that happened 5 years ago?
That has happened.
Okay.
And I can claim patient-doctor confidentiality.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy as that. So yes, be prepared to speak your mind, but also, and here's the thing, be aware also, and to be honest, but also be aware that therapists might say things you don't like.
Right. And I said that.
They might bring things up that you think, oh, but here's the point, that they're bringing it up for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is to help you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how, just be ready you have to be ready to be, I don't want to say criticized. That's not a good word, but
question, not even questioned. Yeah, that's why I said when you go with you have to prepare yourself to understand you may hear something that you just don't like, you don't agree with.
Yep.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Absolutely.
But they're there to help you, and you have to take that as a grain of salt.
Absolutely. And again, this goes back to being open and honest and just being like accepting of information you're receiving.
And if they, and you know what, and during that session, if they say something you don't agree with, you can tell them, you know what, I don't agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of that honesty.
Absolutely. Sure. And then we can kind of cover it and make sure that we're both
on the same page.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's how to prepare for your first session. We have more stuff, Matt, and we're going to do a part 3 on next episode, which usually happens. You know how this happens with this podcast. We have a topic that'd be like, oh, this is one session and we do 4 in it.
Yeah.
Or this is a two-parter and it ends up being a 3-parter. So
it's important information to
it
talk
is.
about.
And it's important to cover and talk about.
All right, fine.
So we will be back next Monday or next episode with part 3 of therapy Q&A. Mm-hmm. Before we leave today, just as a reminder, every Monday evening we record from 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. You can join us on Facebook Live, be a part of the podcast. Join us, ask questions. You can hop in, interact with us.
Yeah,
just come on in. We're always open on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
For those of you on audio, again, the next episode will drop the next Tuesday or Thursday. Just be on the look for that, and we will be back next time with Therapy Q&A Part 3. Before we go, do you know who needs a home, Matt?
I mean, let me guess. Toyota.
Oh, you're so close. It's Honda. I swear to God, look.
I saw it sitting over there.
Did you?
Yes. Come on.
You asshole. I thought you had some magic vehicle thing in your mind. No, anyway.
I cheated on that one.
Honda. Born September 24, puppy still, 4 months old.
Wow.
Mixed breed, female. She'll be about 50 pounds. Dog friendly, yes. Kid friendly, yes. Activity level, medium high. Honda needs a home.
Who's Honda? Oh, look at that.
I know.
She's adorable.
Isn't she?
Oh my
look
goodness.
At that face.
It's a terrier mix.
Look at the little toys.
That's a terrier mix puppy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Honda needs a home.
Honda.
She's ready to go. Get her tonight. Get her with who was our other puppy? I don't remember the name.
That was Lily.
Lily.
Yes.
Honda and Lily. Take them home together.
Wouldn't
that be a great family time tonight?
Yeah.
But anyway, Honda needs a home. DetroitDogRescue.com/adopt. Check her out.
Do it.
She needs a home.
Do it.
Alrighty, folks. We will be back again next episode with Therapy Questions Q&A Part 3. In the meantime, change your thinking, change your life, laugh hard, run fast, be kind. We'll see you next time.